Welcome to episode 2 of Candidly, Kendall. For all of you who listened to episode 1 and are following along, thank you. To be met with such a warm reception and so much love from you all touches me in such a profound way. Okay, can't cry the first minute we're in this podcast, but thank you. Thank you so much if you listened, if you are listening. This is really cool. Also, huge shout out to the photographer. Her name is Danny. I have her tagged over on Instagram, who took the cover image photo for this podcast. I think these are the prettiest pictures of me to ever exist. She captured my essence so beautifully. And that day we had our photo shoot, I was actually sick. I had a cold. So the fact that I still look that good, she is a magician. Before we get into what I want to talk about this episode, I want to give you some life updates. Some of you may know this, some of you may not, but one of my goals for this year is to actually get my own apartment for the first time in my life. This has been a dream of mine for a long time. Living with roommates is great, but having your own space, I think, would just bring me so much peace and comfort, and I'm so excited to design a space and make it my own. And especially doing social media as my job, I think I would feel so much more free to create content, knowing I wasn't disrupting anyone or just having the peace of mind that it's just myself. So I have been looking for an apartment in my area in Brooklyn, which not only is it one of the most competitive areas to get an apartment in New York City, on my budget, which is very little. I'm looking at those rent stabilized unicorn apartments. It's been very challenging. I've toured so many apartments at this point. I just applied to one this past weekend and I didn't get it. And the idea of finding a new apartment, moving, all of these things has just been stressing me out to the bone. I feel this uncertainty of my living situation is really delaying me or holding me back a little bit for things I actually want to pursue. I'm trying to maintain the mindset of what's meant to be will be, and I know in my soul that's true. It is just such a taxing process. So if you live in a one-bed or a studio in Brooklyn and you're moving out, send me a DM because your girl is struggling. This just feels like one of those adult moments where it is so much to handle solo on your own mid-20s and you want to crawl back to your parents and be like, please help me, but of course not. It's something I have to do on my own and it's gonna happen. It's just gonna take some patience and some persistence. So I'll keep you updated there. By the time this episode goes live, I will have launched my third clothing piece. Insane. If you aren't familiar, I work with a Brooklyn manufacturer to actually design clothes, which is such a blessing and such a cool opportunity I get to do. First was my mini skirt, and then I did a plaid skirt, and now we are doing a baby doll dress. It comes in white and black, and its size is extra, extra small all the way up to 4X. I love the style of baby doll dresses. I just feel they never fit quite right. Specifically in the boob area, I feel like it always cuts my boobs in half. So this one is made to fit your chest. It's still an empire waist, so high-waisted. And we actually made it intending for you to wear it braless. I find during warmer months especially, I get very irritated wearing a bra. So we have extra lining up top where it's sort of almost sports bra-ish material. That's a little bit of a stretch, but it's double lined, so you have that extra support. And we also made it slightly longer on the back for extra butt coverage. It's not very noticeable that it's a high-low, but it is longer in the back just to give you that extra bit of comfort. And I'm really proud of it. I actually love the dress. I have been wearing it so much on my own in general, so if that at all interests you, you can shop on acaso.live. I think that is everything I have for my life updates, so let's talk about binge eating and body dysmorphia. Woo! Just a quick heads up, this episode I will be talking about disordered eating, weight gain, weight loss, mental health. So if any of these topics would be triggering to you, maybe it's best to skip this episode. Thank you. It's been getting warmer here in New York, and as summer rolls around, I am reminded I have a body. Ugh, God! Save me, end this misery. Unfortunately, I'm not just a spirit floating through space. I am tied to this meat suit. And like everyone in this world, I struggle with my body image. My weight has fluctuated so much since I hit puberty. It feels like this never-ending roller coaster that I can't get off. I was pretty much average size until about like 10 or 11 years old, where the hormones kicked in and I got a little chubby. And ever since that age, it has gone up and down and all around. And recently I've been doing a lot of reflecting on that experience and why it's happened to me, because unbeknownst to me, a lot of people's weight doesn't fluctuate how mine has. Some people, their standard, the most they've ever fluctuated is like 5 pounds. So it is something that has been hot on my mind, especially with like skinny culture trending on social media. I don't know if it's a recession indicator or just like the spike in weight loss surgeries and medications and transformations people have been having. But lately it feels like it's been shoved down my throat. I also feel a little bit frustrated how consumed I get with my body image. Specifically for women, we're really taught that our appearance should be our top priority at all times, which simply is not true. There is so much more to life than what we look like. In fact, I'd argue that's the least important thing about us. But with having a conventionally attractive physical appearance comes social currency. And despite wherever I am personally with my body image and how I view myself, this sort of social aspect never goes away, and it informs how the world treats you. Anyway, let's talk about binge eating, because that is sort of the core of where my weight issues stem from, is tied to my emotional well-being and overeating. As most things in our lives, this of course stems back down to my childhood. I had 2 parents growing up in a very unhappy marriage, and I had 3 older sisters, all with our own special cocktails of mental health struggles and personalities. In my living situation, it was a very chaotic and neglectful, abusive household. As the youngest of the family, I was often just forgot about and left to my own devices, and though that was good sometimes, it was also really bad other times. And with my parents being so unhappy personally and together, it just made for a very unhappy family environment. So there was a lot of stress and there was not a lot of comfort. So what happens if you aren't taught to regulate your emotions, or you aren't comforted by a parent as a child? You will look for other sources of comfort. And for me, that was food. Eating was a way to get away from the bad feelings for a moment. Eating releases some serotonin in your brain and you feel a little bit better. Food was my friend. Food was my comfort. Another dynamic that existed in my family was grocery shopping could be very sporadic. So sometimes we'd have a fridge full of food and sometimes we wouldn't. And with a family of 6, food would go quick. So I sort of learned that I would have to eat things really fast if I wanted to get them, or I would have to eat a lot because I don't know the next time that it would be available. With this inconsistency, I sort of took what I could get at the moment, and with the combination of using food as an emotional crutch, it led to some bad habits. Quickly, my only coping mechanism for life, for stress, was to eat. Sprinkle a little bit of shame on top of that, and you're on a fast track to disordered eating. My mother, as actually a lot of mothers do, or the more recently coined almond moms, had her own eating difficulties, would have Weight Watchers in the house, would constantly be commenting on her own body as well as her daughter's bodies. From a young age, I could conceptualize that being in a larger body was bad, but since I was still just a kid, I didn't really know what that looked like. All I knew is that my horrible feelings were subsiding for a moment when I ate. I have this very distinct memory of hiding food wrappers. When you're shamed for something, you're gonna try and hide it. So at first, I would bury things deep in the trash if I binge ate a couple of granola bars or whatever it was. Eventually, that became too obvious, so I would look for other areas. I would shove wrappers under couch cushions. And I'm talking lots of wrappers, y'all. Like borderline hoarder level. I'd find small crevices people wouldn't look at for years, and I'd shove wrappers there. The trouble came here is that I would forget where I would put the wrappers to throw them away later, and then people would find them, and we'd have these really fun, uncomfortable conversations. I became this sneaky because I was so plagued by the shame of eating, and eating a lot, which really only perpetuated my binging because now I had to do it in complete secrecy. So in those moments, I would eat as much as I can. In my childhood home, the kitchen was next to the living room, and I have a memory of my parents screaming at one another in the living room, and I army crawled to the snack drawer, the snack cabinet or whatever, trying to be as inconspicuous as possible to my parents' conflict while sustaining my hunger needs or my emotional needs and being met there. When I got to middle school, which, how old are you? Like 12, 11, 13? Around that age, they had snack vending machines. So I would find quarters around the house. I would steal quarters and I would buy myself lots of snacks. I'd get Pop-Tarts, I'd get fruit snacks and fizzy drinks and all sorts of things. And I would scarf them down on the bus or at school or wherever I could. When your household food was very restrictive and you weren't really taught anything about moderation, the second you have the ability to get snacks like sugary things that are bad for you, you're going to gorge, or at least that was my scenario. And this is just foreshadowing for what is about to happen in college. I'm sure you are all familiar with the freshman 15, in my case, the freshman 50. In college, you're away from home for the very first time, you are left to your own devices, and you have a meal plan. And I went to UMass Amherst, which had the best food in the nation for the entire 4 years that I was there. Lucky or bad for me, I sure took advantage. Wasn't looking so good for my disordered eating girlies. I'm not going to get into my entire history of weight gain. I've posted YouTube videos about this. But coming off the distress from my parents' divorce, being in college, working a job, trying to do well in my classes and figure out what I want to do with my life, it was just an immense amount of stress, and I ate. These general binge eating habits turned into me ignoring my hunger cues, eating just to eat, eating to overeat, eating to have something to do, eating to feel something. And not only these things, but guys, food just tastes good. I'm a foodie. I love to eat in the serious senses. I love to try new things. I love new flavor profiles. And unlike other addictions, you can't just cut out food completely. We need to fuel our bodies. We need to eat. It's not something you can give up cold turkey. It's about finding a balance. And when I've been contemplating my weight fluctuations throughout the years, it really stems down to my eating habits and my inability to control myself and not realizing how much I eat. It's my dream to have a healthy relationship with food. I feel like I'm always on one end or the other. Either I'm binging and completely overeating, completely abandoning myself, or I'm in a heavy restrict cycle where I feel like I can't eat anything and I'm anxious about eating and food is the villain. It is an exhausting cycle and one I don't want to be in anymore. So this year I've really been trying to make a conscious decision to make healthy choices for myself, be eating enough protein, be eating a lot of fiber, lots of vegetables, lots of whole foods, and yes, allowing a sweet treat here and there, but not every single meal. And it's really hard for me. I just feel like every day is a mental battle. This might sound messed up. For a long time, out of all the disordered eating for a long time, I was like, really? I couldn't get the ones that make you skinny. I get the ones that make you fat. I feel like that might sound messed up to say, but it is a thought process that I've had. And the other reason that I want to get control of this is I want to live a long and healthy life. When I was severely overweight, it was so hard to do anything. I couldn't breathe. I was having all sorts of health complications at a young age, and there's a history of heart problems within my family. So I want to remain as healthy as possible, and I don't want to have a heart attack at 50. And we are getting there. I think I've been putting in some good work to heal my habits and make choices that are right for me. Now onto the body dysmorphia of it all. When I think back to my recollection of body dysmorphia, or like what I thought about it in my younger years, I didn't really believe it was a real experience people were having or like a real phenomenon. Stereotypically, you think of like the skin and bones person looking in the mirror and seeing that they're obese, but I think body dysmorphia shows up in a lot of different ways and not so straightforward like that. So I want to talk a little bit about how I've experienced it. Right now, in this present moment, I can tell you that I genuinely don't understand what my body looks like at any given moment. When I'm fat, my brain convinces me that I'm small. When I'm small, my brain convinces me that I'm fat. This isn't something that I knew could be possible until I've experienced these major fluctuations in my weight. I'm gaining weight. I genuinely don't realize it. Either it's pure delusion or it's just life with a larger body. 5-10 pounds doesn't make a huge difference visually on my body, versus if you're like 90 pounds soaking wet, it's probably pretty clear when you gain a little bit of weight. Even in terms of my skin, I'm layered in stretch marks from previous times where I gained weight rapidly. So it's not like there's new skin lesions popping up when my weight is fluctuating. I think my brain does a really good job of convincing itself that it looks good no matter what. I think when I lived in my largest size body, I did a lot of self-work to come to terms with what I look like and to still be confident and to still find value in myself. So the weight changes really don't rub me the wrong way. What clues me into anything changing is how my clothes fit, how people are reacting to me, little comments they might make, or also looking at pictures. There's sort of this weird thing where I can only perceive myself like 6 months out. So if I'm looking at a picture I took yesterday, it's sort of hard for me to tell what I look like. But if I look at a picture from 6 months ago where I don't resonate as closely with that version of me, I'm able to look at myself more objectively. But I saw a few pictures from my sister's weddings I was in, and I was like, damn, I got a gut. Like, things are getting bigger, and I didn't quite realize it. Sometimes it just feels impossible to know where I'm at. My ultimate dream and fantasy is to be able to maintain a healthy weight that I don't need to obsess over, that I don't have to put a lot of mental effort into, and I hope I'm on the right track to get there. I have to say, it gets a lot easier as you get older. You sort of care less about what you look like. Like, I have no issues walking out of the house in little booty shorts and having all my cellulite hang out, but in today's media climate and like skinny talk coming back, it reminds me so much of Tumblr when I was an early teenager. We have to remind ourselves that food is necessary to live. It is what powers our bodies, our brains, our hearts, our minds, and it is possible to have a healthy relationship with food once again. We gotta work on it. We gotta rewire some of those neurological pathways. Just know, as much as you struggle, I struggle too. And body image is honestly bullshit, and we're all hot. So let's just start acting like it, okay? Thank you so much for listening to the second episode of Candidly Kendall. This is just something that was on my mind and I wanted to get off my chest. Please rate me 5 stars on whatever streaming service you're listening on, or if you're on YouTube, leave a comment, like, subscribe. You know what to do. And I will see you guys next episode. Bye.